Joe AH0A is going to have to unmute himself, as the other Joes are, to speak to us. So I'm going to mute everybody except me. And okay, the two Joes, please unmute and let's go for it.
Okay, I'm going to want to do a share here to start things off. So I've just got a couple of slides. I really wanted to introduce the subject. We'll do a little bit of history about ARES Connect in Hawaii, which only touches on the subject of reporting to the ARES Connect. Clem and I have attended, I think going back 3 years ago, initial training with webcasts coming out of the ARRL. And we did come away with the impression that the main goal was to improve reporting using new internet tools in ARES Connect. At the time, and Dan knows this very well, Hawaii was using the Idaho ARES database. W7 CIA Ray Montagna, the author of it, agreed to donate us the source code, and we have implemented it, and we've been using that probably about 4 years. And it's used simply to register ARES members, their skills, their equipment, etc. But nothing in the Idaho database really uses the reporting mechanism. And Joe is going to cover in more detail the 40meter.net, which is a logging system that has existed in Hawaii for a long time. It's internet based. It was only being used by a few HF nets going back to 2017. But it was widely in use for the HF people, the HF amateurs, and it's well considered. I would say that going back to 2017, our Hawaii ARES reporting was manual up to the DECs in the area, and it was manual. Clem took care of that. He had to follow up every month with all of the DECs to get reports, et cetera, et cetera. It's a hard job. So I want to introduce Joe, Joe Tabra, KH6 Fox Hotel India. Joe's a retired businessman here in Hawaii. He's got experience also with related industry promotional organizations like the ARRL. So he's dealt with large groups and people who have varying opinions. He was licensed in 2016, although he held a novice license way back when, and I went to look in the history I have and I couldn't find it. But since 2016, Joe has become active in everything. He's on HF, he's VHF, UHF, DMR, he's working in the world on FT8, he's into WinLink and even has his own gateway. He does DXing and contesting. In this, somehow in all of that, he found time to join the CW Ops program and get certified, and to the level now where he's actually one of their volunteer instructors helping out other Hawaiian hams. So he's really well known by the Hawaii amateurs on all the islands and on the different nets and so forth. In June of last year, so it's just about a year ago, Joe joined the ARRL ARES organization, reporting to Clem as the Assistant Section Emergency Coordinator for the neighbor islands. That means the Big Island, Maui, and Kauai. And he agreed to help improve ARES reporting. He has attended one Zoom session, probably going back last year, middle last year, I'm not sure when it was, but it was one of the first Zoom sessions on ARES Connect. So he has a passing understanding of ARES Connect. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Joe and let him finish the talk. And I'll mute my mic.
Okay, well, a pleasant good evening, I should say, for you guys. And thank you for this opportunity to share some of our experiences here and what we're doing with you. There it goes. So the purpose today is to demonstrate the method that ARES Hawaii is now using to log Hawaii's amateurs' participation in local nets. And I don't pretend in this presentation to discuss any relative merits of Hawaii's system versus the ARES Connect system. The principal purpose of the logging system is to provide comprehensive reporting of net activities in the state of Hawaii. And there's secondary purposes. One is to identify and recruit active amateurs into the ARES program. And another is to focus attention on local nets to promote net participation. A little bit of history. Joe touched a little bit on this. There are two principal HF nets in Hawaii. We have the Aloha net every morning at 9 o'clock, and in the afternoon, the Hawaii afternoon net at 4 o'clock daily. Both of those nets have been running constantly for 50 years or more, and almost always have used 40 meters. Both nets are now held on either 7088 or 3880, depending on NVIS propagation conditions. And so it turns out, especially now, it's handy to have a means to communicate with the amateur community in real time to let them know what band is active for local communications. Participation in these two nets ranges between 10 and 20 stations for each net. Both of them are roundtable nets, so again, publicly viewable roster is really a handy tool. A little bit about the development. The 40meter.net website was established to support amateur radio in Hawaii by AH0A, Kona Bob Stauffer. The net was originally intended to provide real-time roster for HF nets, to provide a log of HF net activity on those nets, to provide a forum for comments and postings related to topics discussed on the nets and or related to amateur radio in Hawaii, and to provide important information on real-time NVIS propagation based on the ionosonde data from the ionosonde located here on the island of Oahu. The site has been under constant development over the past 3 years. The HF logging function was recently adapted to capture the VHF and UHF net activity as well. Currently, the system has a provision for logging 8 high-frequency nets. There's 3 daily nets, there's 1 weekly net, and there's 4 monthly nets. And we have a provision for 17 different VHF, UHF nets. One runs 6 nights a week, one runs 3 times per week, 10 of them run once per week, and 5 of them run 1 time per month. And last week, we also included a provision to capture the 20 CERT nets that take place in Hawaii County on the Big Island. We'll start with that county and then move on to the rest. There's already 2 or 3 of the 20 have begun this week. And there's provision in both the HF and the VHF net logging rosters for ad hoc high frequency and ad hoc VHF nets. So there's quite a bit of flexibility in the system. So I want to give you a quick demonstration of logging. Bear with me, I'll get back to where I want to be here. Okay, this is the 40meter.net homepage. This center panel up here can toggle through several different functions. Right now it's on the time and timer function. One that a lot of people pay a lot of attention to is the NVIS map to help decide what bands are open between the islands. And even more exact is the NVIS data from the ionosonde, which is given here. There's the notices for Hawaii hams in this left-hand panel. That can also be swapped by pressing links to give a whole list of very helpful links about the local weather, local propagation, equipment, 40meter.net itself, and some other functions that I'm going to touch on in a minute. Back in the center here, in the small yellow panel in the center of the screen, is a utility that's very similar to the chat utility on Zoom. Here you can post either a list of pre-prepared messages, or you can type in your own message, up to 150 characters, I think it is. And that will show down below this bottom green band in the center. Right now, the system reset at noon, so the stuff from this morning is not showing, but there's usually a bunch of messages there. Okay, so let's start with the HF logging. HF logging is initiated up in this right-hand column by hitting enter an HF HF roster. And first thing you do is the net control station enters his call sign. That's followed then by picking out which net that is being called, the frequency that's going to be used for the net, at least to start, and then open the net. Opening the net then takes the net control station to the web roster editor. And that's over on the left-hand side of the screen here. Almost all of the HF logging is done in real time. And so, okay, the roster is populated by coming in here, and there's three ways to populate this roster. You can type in your call sign directly. Another way is to come in and there's a list of stations that are active in the last month. So we can pick, there it's Kona Bob, pick a couple others here that might be checked in as they check in. Okay, and you can also populate this by copying and pasting a list. So once you have your roster in, you come down here and you hit save. And there it goes. In 20 seconds or so, you'll see over on the right-hand column the real-time roster for the net in progress if you're looking at the website's homepage. It should go right about now. There we go. Okay, when the net's finished, then all the net control station has to do is hit close the roster. It closes and saves the log. And the net is logged. And after another 20 seconds, this live roster will disappear, the one on the right. Well, that's for the HF net. VHF, UHF logging is very similar, but because a lot of these nets take place at the same time, and most of the NCS stations prefer to enter their logs after the fact rather than while the net is running, we adapted the HF log to be used a little bit differently. So to open a UHF, VHF log, there's a button down here at the bottom of the left-hand column. So we'll go ahead and open a net here. First thing that NCS does is choose the name of the net that they're going to be logging. This is a net that I call a lot, so I'll go ahead and use it as an example. The current date is already in, but can be changed manually if you're doing it after the fact on another day. The net time, the opening time of the net, needs to be logged. Either it's the current time or whatever time you put in. Again, you populate the roster. You can type in directly, or you can populate it using copy and paste from another list. Once the net is finished, you fill in the end time. You fill in the call sign of the person that's logging the net. It's not always necessarily net control station. And you fill in the number of check-ins that you had. And once you've got all of that correct, you come down here and you hit the submit button. And then once you've hit the submit button, that will take you back to the 40meter.net homepage and register the net on the log. There's two other things that you can do here. There is the high frequency roster, the log. This is the log of all the nets that have been done this month so far. They're usually in chronological order, but not always, depending on when they were put in. But it's from top to bottom. These are all the nets that have been held so far in May. Here's a good example. The Hawaii afternoon net, AH0A Conabob was the NCS. Started at 3:49 p.m. He had 12 check-ins. It ended at 5:02 p.m. I'm sorry. I got to jump him about that time. Something's wrong. Oh, yeah, 3:49 to 5:02. Yeah, that's correct. And then it was closed at that time, and this becomes a part of the permanent record. Okay. The same thing is available for the VHF, UHF nets. They're, I'm sorry, pressed the wrong one. Their net log is here. All of the logs for the nets to date are registered in the same format. If there are mistakes made, then people get a hold of me, and I do have the ability to go in and edit the register, edit the log. Don't have to do it very often anymore. That's getting less and less. Okay. Okay, the monthly log file, then a text file of all the logs for a given month are automatically emailed to ARES Hawaii at midnight of the last day of the month. So we take that conglomeration of all the files, all the logs, and we run the text file through a mining program that has been written to generate several things. First, an activity summary that's listed by call sign and by net that is posted on 40meter.net and also on the ARES Hawaii info website. And it also generates an Excel spreadsheet listing all of the nets for the month, plus the number of check-ins per individual net, elapsed time for each net, man-hours expended for each net, and the total man-hours expended in the state for the month. So let me take you really quick and show you an example of that activity report. Okay, this activity report, let me get me out of the way here. It's listed first by call sign. We also can look at a list for a particular net. This is the EARC evening net. Now, we also can look either in the master list or by net by going up and clicking on May. This will list the stations in order of the number of times they've participated in that net per month. And that gives you an idea of the level of each station's activity. So in this case, call sign. Yeah, it turns out that call sign, this one goes backwards, actually. I don't know why it's not moving. Anyway,
It's
that's
already in
the,
order.
huh?
It's already in order by call sign.
Oh, I see. You got it alphabetically. Okay, understood. Okay, so
Joe,
that's
just for funds, can you bring it back? I wanted to ask. I wanted you to show one other thing. Yeah, go back. Click on all nets, all, and hit year to date.
Yeah.
Okay, so and Joe's the fourth guy down here. Joe has so far in this year to date has checked into 294 nets, but he's fourth on the list. KK6 GM on the Big Island is the winner, who's actually checking, and we can do that by month. That's the May total. Well, they're not much different. Okay, I just wanted to show how active you were, Joe.
okay. Okay, so I wanted to show you an example of some of the things that we pull out of this. First of all, I got to say that the process of capturing all the nets here in the state is continuing. We're adding 2 more this coming week, or this week. So slowly we're gathering everybody in. I've done a pretty good job on getting the Big Island's nets and Oahu's nets working. Working now to get Maui and Kauai to log theirs. So the May 2020 log showed that there were 318 call signs that were active in May. That meant that average for those 318 was 7.35 nets per month. If you look at the top 10, they averaged 68.4 per month, and the average of the top 20 was 47.7. So I think you can say that at least a third of these active call signs are quite active in a given month. So there are 211 registered ARES members in the state. So actually we're showing participation of more stations that are registered, and that shows that there's more stations than are registered for ARES that are preparing for MCOM activities. Man hours, 3,290 were expended in May on high frequency nets and 1,150 on VHF and UHF nets for a total of 4,440. And note that in 2017, which is the last report I had, there were 2,000 man hours reported, about 2,000 reported in June of 2017. So it looks like the logging effort has succeeded in more than doubling the number of participants in local nets, mainly because we're now logging this participation, whereas before it was kind of falling through the cracks. Not by the fault of anybody, but for the lack of a decent system to capture it. So I'd like to acknowledge Kona Bob for hosting this valuable service to Hawaii's amateurs. Thank him for his continuing efforts to improve the site's content and utilities, and thank him for his open and supportive attitude as we continue to expand and improve the logging tool. And secondly, I'd like to thank the Hawaii ARES organization for pulling all of the information together and promoting the logging efforts by the many net control stations. Okay, with that, we'll turn it back to Joe, AH0A, AH6FHI. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really don't have much more to add. I think you did a good job of giving an overview. We'll turn it back to Dan to see if there's any questions concerning it.
Okay, helps when I unmute myself. That was a good presentation. Thank you very much, both the Joes. And is there any questions out there?
Yeah, are you just taking them on the fly, or were you looking at the hands on the participant list? Either way, I'll go first, I guess. So,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Interesting tool. I have one question for you. I know that when we're pulling together net traffic data for monthly reporting, I'm wondering, what do you do to capture your traffic counts, your QTC?
Presently, nothing.
Okay. So you just don't include that in your monthly totals that you send in?
Clem, can you answer that one?
Yeah, thanks to both Joes, I get the report about by the first day of the following month, and I captured all the nets, the number of man hours, the total number of nets, and that goes into my monthly SEC report.
Okay.
So it makes it so much easier for me by capturing, because we were capturing some of the other nets that we do have now, so that was great, and shows the amount of activity. So if anybody want to see who participated in what net, at least we have that data. So that's a big help. Hope that answered your question, Max.
Well,
We'll
I'm curious about, I work with our section traffic manager and collecting the reporting, and in Michigan, what we do is I turn in a consolidated report. So he passes me data, and then I feed that into the report. And when he gives me NTS numbers, he also gives me the traffic counts for the nets. And then in addition to that, the public service honor roll data gets captured in there. So I was wondering if you have some other tools that you're using for capturing that information beyond that.
Max, let me step in here. When I became section manager, we had one person who was the NTS manager, and he resigned 2 days after I took office. We've had no NTS activity in Hawaii since then, and almost all of that is moving into WinLink. I'd say that we don't really have an NTS system here.
Oh, okay. Well, that clarifies.
Reality.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to add one more thing. One of the things that I have on my list to talk to AH0A about is capturing the WinLink message volume per month. And so that's coming.
And actually, that's really easy to do because WinLink will generate a traffic report for any stations over any period of time. So it is pretty straightforward. A little bit of manual work though.
Can that be automated?
I think you'd have to see it to understand what automation can take place.
It comes out in a PDF file according to a formal law. It could be converted to text, but anything can be automated. It's just if there's a will and a need. But Joe's going to make me look at it.
Looks like a hard case. Kind of a whip kind of guy, keeps people going.
Not at all.
I was just joking, Joe. I'm sorry. One of the things about all of us getting together, we get to see each other's sense of humor. Some of it isn't so humorous, but we all got something out there.
You don't.
I will ask one other question. What does it take to add a net?
Somebody gets a hold of me, explains what they have, and we agree on a name for it, and I get Kona Bob to put it on the list.
Okay. So all roads lead to Kona Bob right now for that. And he's hosting that on his own servers, or
He hosts that on his own server. For the time being, that's the way it's working.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have concerns about sustainability. There actually is a second system being developed by a fellow on Maui, which is totally compatible format-wise with this system. So, in a very big problem would develop, we may have a second system. It's just coming online now.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go to another question here. Barry, you have something there?
Yeah. So I assume this allows logging of non-ARES members. Anything that gets logged, you don't have to be an ARES member, correct?
You do not have to be an ARES member to be logged.
That's one thing I wish they had in ARES Connect. Thank you.
It is impressive, the amount of work and organization that I see in Hawaii that really, I appreciate what they're doing. And as well, the dedication of people with the discipline to keep all these efforts together. And I'm sure that is part that they know that the problems can arise at any time and they have to get in contact. So I think that is important, but at the same time, they are really doing a great job. Thank you, Joe and the Joes and Clem and everybody there. My heart is always with you guys.
Thank you, Oscar.
Yeah, thanks, Oscar. Remember to raise your hand. David, go ahead.
Just a quick question. This was supposed to be a method of logging into ARES Connect. How is the interface to ARES Connect done, or are you even using it at all?
Clem, you want to field that?
Maybe I'll handle it.
I'll let Joe handle that, AH0A.
We're currently not logging in our members in their database. We have a very large database with a lot of information in it. It's not compatible with ARES Connect. I really don't want to get into addressing all of the issues that might go with that decision. What we tried to focus on is promoting ARES Connect and collecting this data, and Clem is capturing all of this. And I might comment, we do have events very frequently. We have hurricanes here. We have events when internet is down, and this kind of system or even ARES Connect doesn't address that issue. That has to be handled on a piece of paper, or maybe somebody typing into a smart phone or something. But that's a manual activity. So Clem continues to assemble I've forgotten what the number of the report is. What's the report that you file by every month, Clem?
Yeah, it's the monthly SEC report that I sent to ARRL headquarters.
Form 4. Form 4.
Form 4, I believe.
Well, I apologize. It looks like this seminar was, the name of it was a little misleading for those who expected it to be regarded to ARES Connect itself. But it's still a very good seminar, a very good presentation. Steve, you got your hand up there in Kentucky.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. I have a question for the host there. What's your percentage of ARES members who license amateurs in Hawaii right now, or active licensed amateurs in Hawaii? What's your percentage?
I'll have to address that. We've got 211 members in the ARES database, and Hawaii has approximately 3,500 hams.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Steve, I'll lower your hand and, well, oops, and then we'll go right over here to Max again. Go ahead, take it, Max.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up to Barry's comment, I guess it was. He made, I think I heard the comment was is that ARES Connect requires you to be an ARES member, and I don't believe that that's true.
No,
So,
no, that's right. You don't have to be,
okay.
but you do have to be in a leadership position. The EC, DEC, SEM, all those have to be, you have to be an ARES member, but for the
Well,
actual membership, no.
Yeah, you'd have to be an ARRL member to become a leader in the organization.
That's
I
what
understand that. And you don't have to be an ARRL member to be in ARES. And then subsequently, to be able to get an account on ARES Connect, all you need is a call sign, as far as I understand it. You do not need to be an ARES member even to be able to use that.
You have to be in the database, though. And if you're not in the ARES database that the league has, it won't let you log them.
I created a fictitious account with a call sign that doesn't exist, and that for testing purposes, and that's clearly not an ARES member. So, and I've logged into, I've used it to try logging in and signing into events for Michigan and that sort of thing. Had no issues with it.
I'll have to check it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, because in fact, here in Michigan, Saturn uses the ARES Connect system as well. So when I pull data out of the system, I kind of have to set theirs aside right now to be able to capture the hours that I want.
But doesn't the act of actually putting your call sign and your information into the ARES Connect database automatically make you an ARES member? I don't know.
No, no, that just makes you a user of the ARES Connect tool. In order to be an ARES member, you have to say, I want to offer up my station for emergency services, and then I'll give you a card. But you have to have a call sign, of course. I mean, but you have to have an active ticket. That is.
In Idaho, anyway, you can join ARES by going to our website, our Idaho ARES website, and registering there. Once you're registered there, you automatically refer it out to who your EC is going to be in the county or whatever you're involved with there. But you're already, by doing that, you're already part of the ARES community.
Right. A lot of people will gripe that ARES and ARRL don't require training, and that's a fact. And I can accept that fact, because what they're doing is they're encouraging training, right? They encourage continuous development, which is the important thing to do. And really, that training needs to be to what your served agency is going to require, right? If they want you to understand the ICS structure, then you go take the FEMA courses. If they want you to know a certain technology, then you're going to go learn that technology and so forth. ARES has a couple of, ARRL, I should say, has a couple of courses that line up, right? You know, that gives you some foundational material if you're just starting out fresh and trying to figure out where to go. But ARES, people will say, well, gee whiz, you know, ARES is so thin, and that is by its definition, it is thin. I see ARES as a kind of an umbrella organization that helps to pool the resources and get them organized around whatever the local and regional needs are going to be.
Any comment to that? A silent bunch. I don't see any more hands, or are there any more questions? Okay, I'll make a comment here. Not all the states are buying into ARES Connect. Idaho's one of them. Hawaii, Alaska, there's a bunch of them, and they got various reasons. Some of them because they already got a database system going that meets all their needs and then some, and they don't want to lose that. In other words, when they go to ARES Connect, yes, they're giving data to them, but the data coming back for their needs locally don't exist. So it's empty in that way. But for states and sections that didn't have anything, it was just using a spreadsheet, ARES Connect serves a very good purpose. Where it's going to go in the future, I hope that they do something well with it. It's been around for a while and it hasn't, while it's making good headway, there's parts of it that needs to have improvement. When we get a new ARES manager on board, we'll see what happens to ARES Connect, we'll see what happens to ARES. Some of the sections, you know, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, California, have got some very good ARES activities going and ways of recording it, ways of doing things with it. At some point, it'd be nice if we all were on the same page, but I think we're away from that. We all have the same goals, but we're not on the same page. Any other, I don't see any more hands.
Yeah, can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, New York's talking. I hope everybody's doing well anyway with COVID. But you know, we've been talking about this for a while now with ARES Connect and stuff. That's one form. There's 71 section managers, and there's more than that with different districts and stuff that are either ARES or not ARES. We're not all going to be the same. We got to go from the ground up. We got to dig out of the weeds to see what it is. Not everybody's going to be the same. We have to remember that. I think what we have to do really, and what we talked about is there was a boilerplate. We have to make a boilerplate, and then each section is going to have to work what they need for their particular section, because we're all different. Okay. Now, we sort of like been talking about that, but you know, that's the way I'm looking at this whole thing. That's my 2 cents.
One of the things that I've noticed and brought up by other people beforehand, the differences is the people, be it the people from the agency saying this is what we need, or the individuals that insist upon doing something one way or the other. But the bottom line, if they're following the training courses that most of them have to offer, they should be able to cross. In other words, you call for help from another section or help. Those guys should be able to come right over, sit down, and go right to work. Their politics may be different. Their ideas of what ARES is about might be different. But when it comes to doing the job, they can sit down and do the job. And that's an important part.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't really see that going to ever happen because there's too much diversity. We tried to do that about 12 years ago with the ECAC committee, which I was on, part of it, and we dragged that for 3-4 years, took it up to the league, and they gonged it right away. And we did basically the same thing we're doing here. There's certain things that any ARES, in my opinion, should be doing, and it should be all of the 4 ICS courses. A basics ARES person should have IC 100, 200, 700, and 800. And we encourage EC 001 and any ASF things that they want to do. You know, you have to train to what your served agencies want you to train, but in this, any ARES members should train as far as to what level they want to go to and where they want to, what they want to learn. Train up to that level. If you don't want to do anything, and all you want to do is take your little HT and go to a parade, that's fine. That's okay. But there's other parts of ARES, okay? And we have to try to encourage most technicians to get involved, or the ones that do get involved in ARES, to be part of ARES and to get a little more knowledge base. I mean, I know you do it on the West Coast, they do a great job, and I know they do a great job down in Florida. You know, probably other areas I know, and I know. And it's the way I see it. It's tough in New York. And in my opinion is, and I've been doing this for a long time, but I think we get an ARES person who's good for 5 years. Okay, he'll hang around for 5 years unless he's got he's got really something and he really likes it a lot. And then he's going to go into a different facet of amateur radio, or he can't negotiate at home anymore. With his wife. That's the way I look at it right now. I mean, I really hope this gets better because I know we need the WinLink. We need to do more digital. We got to get people more involved. But I'm not seeing it right at this point. So I think the group is perfect. I mean, the section manager, the SEC group is perfect for this. And I just hope exchanging pieces of mind, as you would say, I think is very important. So maybe we can, either what Max says is going on in Michigan or what Joe's saying in Hawaii. Maybe you can massage that a little bit for your own district itself. You know, I try to get my SEC to come in. He comes in here once in a while. I like him to get in here more, you know, see what's going on, see if he's got a plan with that. But like you, Dan, you don't have areas in Idaho, so to speak. You know, it's tough. It's tough for you to work, and I applaud your efforts in doing what you're doing.
I'm hoping that you're right in what you're saying. We do have areas, but we don't have areas structure and activity that you see in Hawaii and parts of California and such. I just recently finally got a SEC, what they say, worth of their salt. It seems to be fairly easy to find people that's qualified or even overly qualified for the SEC position. At least it has been for me. Getting somebody that wants to do something besides wear the hat, wants to actually do something, that's been a problem. And the way this guy is really jumped in there. But back to the subject at hand here, this tool we're using right now is new. We're getting to watch each other, share with each other, share what we're doing, like the Joes and Clint's did in Hawaii there, what we're doing. Hopefully it's bringing us together better, closer, more, and making it so we can function together better. I'm not saying it won't happen, but I think we have a better ability to make it happen now on a face-to-face routine than we had before in the ways we were doing it before. Well, who knows? But
I don't disagree with you. I was just stating from what I'm seeing from all the years I've been doing, and I applaud your efforts and everybody's efforts for trying to make it a better operation. The problem is going to be in headquarters, as we all know. You know, it's going to be tough. I know we have a bunch of new directors, and maybe some more new section managers coming on board, better ideas, younger ideas, you know, go attitude, which is good. But, you know, just seeing things that have transpired over 25 plus years in this, you know, it just seems like it goes around in a circle, you know, it's a 5-year circle. You know, you get peaks in your valleys, and we're just trying to improve it. So I think we're at the bottom of the hour, and we're trying to come up to the top now. So we're swinging up and doing more things. I think that's great.
We do have serious problems at the league. I think we all can recognize that. We've got the old style bunch that are refusing it for change. They consider us whiners. They don't want to hear from us in the field.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be following their lead. They're not supposed to be following ours, which is just the opposite in a membership organization. There's been right now, if the new elections, if we can get a couple more directors turned over, I think we can make some good headway of breaking that thing. But you know, just like the recent field day thing, that was a push from the field through a couple of directors that supported us that forced the situation at the league that got it changed. All of us as individuals, we became a voice. Same thing with go ahead, somebody's saying something.
I understand that. I mean, and we were part of it too on Long Island. We were very instrumental in pushing that. And we did well with Rhea and stuff, and got her, and she was on board with us. And we brought it here that time. We had that meeting, and we really pushed it. And we had some clubs that wanted to do it, and we did. We didn't get exactly what we wanted, but we did get some of it. And that was part of it. As long as we can massage a little bit, get a little bit here and give a little bit there, I think we'll do well. But what I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I'm not trying to badmouth anything. I'm just giving you little things that I've been seeing. But I know I think WinLink's a big thing now, any kind of digital modes. But we got to remember one thing that we always have to remember: we can't just keep focusing on a lot of that, and we have to focus on the simplex end of it. We really have to do that. We got to teach these new people to do the right things, and that's going to come from local authority or a local ARES group. You're going to have to teach them how to, you know, throw the antenna up in the air and stuff, and make the antenna, and do that, because, you know, we could lose the internet. It's possible. Maybe not as much now as it was a few years ago, but it's still possible. Okay, how are we going to talk? You know?
The thing about when all else fails, and that's what we have to train for. And okay, rather than you and I dominating, let's move it to somebody else.
Go ahead. I just had to say that. because I,
No,
but I
no.
did like the presentation. And actually, I really liked it. The only thing I would like there is Joe or was how you had so many HF hours in a month. I find that very interesting. You had 3,000 hours, man hours, a month for HF nets. Is that correct? Did I read? Did I see that right on the screen? It was something like that, Joe?
I got to go back and look at the numbers, but the
Yeah,
reason
but
that
it looked to me like
H-
that. That's like
the
16
reason-
hours a week.
the reason that the HF numbers are so high is that those nets usually last an hour, sometimes an hour and a
Really?
half.
And it's basically rags you and sending stuff back and forth, or is it sending
There's
messages, or
quite a
just-
bit of message handling practice,
Okay,
but it's also keeping up with propagation trends, keeping
Okay.
up with preparation for exercises or whatever. And the other thing is that the VHF, UHF nets are normally fairly short.
yes,
The ARC evening net that I participate in here on Oahu, we'll have anywhere from 30 to 40 check-ins every night, but
Mhm.
it only lasts 15 or 20 minutes.
Gotcha,
And
gotcha.
I think that's the reason that you see the disparate numbers there.
Okay, all right, very good. Well, anyway, I got to say, it's great to see that. And anyway, the islands are beautiful. I've been there and just
Well, you
love
got to
it. Can't wait
remember,
to get back.
that there's a fair amount of distance between us and a bunch
Oh,
of
yes.
islands.
Yes,
And
so
so a lot
NBIS
of
is
times
the way.
HF is the only way to talk to your buddies on the other islands.
That's correct. That's correct. Okay. And also with the mountains too. If you're in the valley, you're not gonna have a repeater. You got to do NBIS. So very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, Mike, let's pick up you there. WZY, take it away.
Hey guys, up here in Connecticut, we've been trying to deal with this for a while, and ARES Connect has never taken off. I'm with you guys. We have to get some more representation out of the league before products like ARES Connect are going to be really taken into use. I have a couple of questions. One is for Joe and Joe out in Hawaii. The source code for this website that Kona Bob has built is very impressive. Would he be willing to work with another section or another state that wanted to try and replicate this somewhere else? And I don't expect you guys to answer right away. That's something that I would love to look into. This is I think is a great tool and can be used for a lot of different things. And if he's already done the majority of the heavy lifting, I can tell you guys, I work for Microsoft. I know how much coding goes into building something like this. So if he's already done the majority of it, then by all means, I would love to have him work with someone here in Connecticut if we tried to do something like that. So that's one question. The other is, you guys remember here a few weeks ago, I was here talking about the Red Cross drill that we did at the end of May. And we had great participation in some parts of the country, and others just basically told me we're not going to fool with it because we don't like dealing with the Red Cross, or we don't want to do something on a Saturday morning, or for whatever reason. So we know that there is no such thing as a single one solution fits all. Believe me, every time I go to buy clothes, there's no such thing as one size fits all. So we have to have the idea that our projects and our applications that we use have to be flexible enough to be applied to a local application. It's the reason that in that drill, we didn't tell people what you had to do on Saturday morning. We knew that everybody would do something a little bit different. And I was tickled. I got calls from Oscar from Puerto Rico, and I got calls from Clem in Hawaii, and I talked to guys in California. I talked to people in Texas. Everybody wanted to do something a little bit different. So most of the things that we're seeing coming out right now, what bothers me is I've been a ham for how many years? 44 years now. And a lot of the things that we're doing, just like the reporting that we do for the SET and field day reporting and all that stuff, it's the same way we did it back in the 70s. In the 70s, we filled it out, put it in an envelope, mailed it to Newington. Now we fill it out online, hit submit, and it's mailed to Newington. We have to look at different ways of doing that stuff. And every one of us, I look at the pictures that show up on this meeting, and it's the same thing that I see when I go to a hamfest. And unfortunately, the vast majority of everything I see is a bunch of old, fat, white-haired guys. We got to get more people involved in this. And if we're going to say, well, this is the way we've done it since we had vacuum tubes, nobody's going to be interested. We got to have new technology and new ways of doing things. And without that, I see your ARES hat, Jim. Without that, we're not going to, 15, 20 years from now, there's going to be a whole lot less of us on this meeting. And we're going to get stuck. And I'm hoping that whatever happens, I live about 45 minutes from the league headquarters. And the state of Connecticut says they might actually be able to get back into the league headquarters next week and get back to work full time. I'm hoping that they get this stuff. There's a job for an emergency management director and a job for a CEO. Those two are going to be critical positions to how the league is going to survive over the next few years. So you want to know what's going on in Newington? Pick up the phone and call somebody. Call your division manager, your division director. Up here in New England, we've had a division director, but our vice director went on to the executive board, and we don't have a vice director now. So I'm waiting to see when they actually fill that position.
Oh, Mike, one of the problems the SM, we have two different groups here. One is the SM only group, and then this one here that involves SECs, everybody with the ARES side of it. And from the SM side of it, we've been trying to address this empty hold you will, where we put in questions, we get no answers back, or we get phony answers back. We'll get back with you, we never hear back. Some of the directors are very, very good. Some of them are so-so, and some of them are just not good at all. They don't want to talk to us, or they can't, whatever the case is. That's part of the problem. The other part is that the league itself, they keep telling these guys, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. In fact, two of the directors got themselves hand spanked because on a conference like this, they talked about a couple of things that seemed pretty innocent to us, but they got their hands spanked and taken off those committees because they talked to us about it. There's a huge communications problem that we're trying to address. We have some key people that are supporting us, trying to get that fixed. It's going to take some time. I'm kind of holding back to see who becomes the CEO, who becomes the next ARES manager. I've gotten conflicting reports. One says that they're trying to get the ARES new manager hired first for the CEO. And the other one says they're trying to get the CEO manager hired. It doesn't matter. They're both taking far too long to get off the ground.
Well, Dan, my fear is that whoever the CEO is going to have to be a businessman. Mm-hmm. This is a business, no matter what you do. The CEO has to be somebody who understands what a membership program like this is all about. The other thing is, whoever this new emergency management director is, what scares me is they're going to go out and hire somebody who's a retired fire chief. And there's nothing wrong with that. But they're going to come in and they're going to say, oh, we know all about how to be on a scene, and we know all about how to set up, command structure when there's a fire going on. That's not what they need. They need somebody who's, first of all, going to be a manager who's going to deal with the field organization. Second, they're going to have somebody who's going to deal with developing the people that are there. And third, they're going to have somebody who is going to be essentially an evangelist for the league and for ARES and the ARES function to the membership. I have people across the country have told me, said, yeah, we don't deal with ARES. That's just a bunch of jokes. We'd just as soon have the old CB operators running RACES or REACT because they did just as good. The whole idea of ARES needs to be promoted. And if you're going to look at somebody that's going to say, okay, if we have another disaster like we had in Puerto Rico, I'm going to run down there and I'm going to stay for a month and I'm going to help run things. That's not what you need at the league. You need somebody who is going to be a manager and somebody who is going to promote that program.
That manager also has to be very good with politics because of what goes on at the league and what comes out of the field. A good manager can do that. A good manager with the right skills can do that. Unfortunately, in the past, some of the people—
You're going to have to deal with two leaders up there. You not only have the CEO and the physical leadership in the league, but then you've also got the executive board, the guys that are scattered across the country who are going to make a lot of decisions, just like getting rid of our last CEO. Now, I met Howard a time or two. I don't know him, didn't know him then. I don't know if he was doing a great job or not. But whoever's in whatever those positions are, they're going to have their hands full.
They are, and Howard, I met Howard a couple of times. From what I know about it, and I'll just say it because it's what I know about it, and that is Howard was very good at saying things and not as good at doing things, and that's what got him in trouble. He was a good speaker. I liked listening to him. He had a good personality, came across well. I think he may have had some good ideas, but apparently, from what I understand, he was more talk than action, and it caught up with him, and that's what got him in the end.
Hey Dan, you've got some hands up.
I sure do. Let's get off of these subjects. Thank you, Lee. Marty, go ahead and take it.
Okay, very good. Dan, can you hear me okay?
Hear you just fine, Marty.
All right. I first have a comment to Mike up in Connecticut. Mike, it very much sounds like there's maybe perhaps some advocacy to have a better business model. You know, one of the things that I've been involved with is most recently is agile process, the lean process. And anybody familiar with that understands that that does not fix everything, and it's not everybody's bailiwick to do that, but a process nevertheless. So we'll call that the business process, number one. Number two, the hobby. For many, this is a hobby. It has been, will be. And then the last part is the community side, which is emergency communication. So the three-sided triangle is, yes, you're absolutely right. It's a business, and it's going to be run like a business. If we want to continue to have the fraternity, or call it whatever you want, we have the opportunities to use all the services that becomes part of membership, and promoting that and encouraging that, if indeed that is what a member is or a ham is looking to have, is those benefits. And then the participation comes from the local area, as the headquarters has pushed a lot of that down, almost all of it down to the section level. And I've been a section manager now, what, 3 terms going on 4? Quite a significant amount of changes there. And of course, the last is, and I agree, it's the MCOM side, and all of the tools, the ones here and all of the other tools that we've had the opportunity to use and continue to use and compliment or criticize on. It boils down to this, is that if it isn't working, let's get rid of it, because it's wasting time. And the definition of wasting my time would be, I don't understand it, or it doesn't work for me, or it's not manageable, or it doesn't do what I want it to do. If that tool is intended for reporting, let's call it what it is. And then lastly, I have a question for, well, this group this evening. If tomorrow was your disaster, whatever that happened to be, or next week, or this coming weekend is going to be your national disaster, your area disaster, of all the states, there's approximately 10 states that don't have major disasters. When's the last time, Dan, you had a hurricane in Idaho? No, really, tell me, when's the last time?
One that made the news? No.
Yeah, right.
Well, we had an earthquake the other day. It's
I know you get
6.7.
earthquakes all. Are you closer to Boise or Pocatello? Where are you at?
Oh, I'm on the earthquake was within 10 miles of my cabin, and we got some pretty good damage from that.
Okay. So if you count all those type of disasters, flooding, fire, winter, whatever that is, tropical, whatever that is, it might be drought. It could be any one of the, who knows, number of emergencies or disasters. And there's a selected, there's a group of individuals that participate with their local officials, whatever that group is. Doesn't have to, it could be CERT, it could be RACES, it could be Mars, it could be HAMS, it could be anybody. The point I'm making here is it would be better to have the guideline coming from the league that says, here's your guide for handling a disaster communications. Contact this person using NIMS or ICS. Contact this person. Get your information you need to have. What is your roles and responsibility? The guideline, because the disaster in Idaho is nothing like a disaster in Florida, and the section manager and SECs and the rest of the HAMs, are going to treat it. They're going to treat it in such a way it benefits them. Obviously, it makes their community whole again. And give you an example. COVID is everywhere, and I've got folks asking me, hey, we're in Maryland. Hey, we're in phase 2, and they've opened this and this and this. And when's the Hamfest coming back? And you have to think broadly here, and we try to here in the Maryland section. We've started a ARES MAT collaborative Zoom meeting with our adjacent sections. We do that regularly because we know those disasters do not stop at state or county lines. But that guideline is most important. And if it is broad enough, it provides reporting capabilities and it provides accountability when it comes to ARES. If you're not an ARES member and you're a CERT member, the guidelines still work. It doesn't matter what organization you're using or what organization you're in that you're helping your community as a served agency. And absolutely agree with the comment that you need to have the qualifications and the competency for that served agency. So it is a heavy lift, and yes, it's been going on for decades. Nothing has changed. My suggestion is, if it's not working, and maybe I'm speaking from my recent Agile training, but if it isn't working, let's get rid of it. Move on. Maybe we failed, but we learned lessons. Let's move on to something else, and collaboratively we'll come up with something good. So I'll turn it back to you, Dan.
Okay, Marty, you covered a lot of different areas there. I'll be brief, but one of the things the section managers are trying to do, and we touched on this earlier, is better communications with the league. We're trying to open some doors and such, and we all have been experienced with ARES not listening to the field, not being part of their plan. We hope to be able to change that. So when the ARES manager comes on board, the people in the field, everybody else is involved with ARES has a voice, and it's a meaningful voice, and that's what we're working for. It's got to be that way. This is a membership organization. You got one or two guys up there at the top making decisions that we can't deal with down here because it doesn't work. That doesn't work. And I'm going to shut up for now and send it over to, I think, Lee, I think you're next. Go ahead. You're muted.
I think Dan was next.
Dan?
Or Ken, I'm sorry, Ken.
All right, Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Marty said a little bit there, that's kind of, being in the new SEC, I think that's what I've found difficult in Idaho. Since the likelihood of a disaster is pretty slim, it's hard to get people to actually train for one. So that's one of the things I'm dealing with. But I did have a specific question for one of the Joes or Clem. Out of all those HF nets that you guys do, what modes do you typically use? Is it digital, voice, or CW? A combination of the different modes? Because again, with Idaho, we're kind of a smaller state, but we are geographically spread out, east, north to south anyway. So it's kind of a challenge to get everything working in that regard too. So it's kind of interested in what kind of mode you guys use.
I'll let, this is Clem, KH7HO. I'll let Joe, KH6FHI, answer that because he's involved in a lot of the nets.
Okay, there's principal amount of that man hours is spent on sideband.
Okay.
We do have monthly and weekly FL DigiNets, and there's a WinLink, HF WinLink net that's started up and just starting to gain traction, and quite a bit of the VHF message traffic is via WinLink as well.
Great, thanks.
Okay,
As
was that it?
background, we have 5 HF gateways in Hawaii on WinLink and 17 VHF. So it's starting to build. And I did want to comment back to Jim earlier. You implied that WinLink was not a simplex operation, but we've had talks here from the ARES group that out of Los Angeles, they're running regularly organized peer-to-peer WinLink nets for hospital support, and we intend to be following that in the future.
I find I don't recall saying that, but I agree. We are trying to push that here too, simplex. When we just did it with the Red Cross net, we pushed some simplex stuff out. It was very important. What I was referring to was simplex, is we got to learn to use it more than we've been doing and quit relying on the internet as much. I mean, we even have guys, most of our guys are doing WinLink and they're doing, putting EHT to the computer and sending it across that way, with FL Digi messaging and stuff like that. But the idea is, what we're trying to do with the simplex center is get people to understand it. The people that are in the shelters, they have to understand it. And we don't have enough of that here, where we keep changing our manpower all the time, so we have to keep reintroducing it. But no, I think what you're doing in Hawaii is great, Joe. Thank you very much.
Okay. I'll get back in front of the camera. Ken, did that take care of your question?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Not a problem. I'm going to lower your hand. And now, Lee, it's your turn.
All right. All right, bear with me. This is a comment and a question to the group about tonight's presentation. I really enjoyed seeing something that really worked and that it was easy to use, that gave you great output back. So bear with me. I want to preface my question. So yeah, each jurisdiction, ARES jurisdiction is unique, is different, but there are things that we have in common. In fact, our usefulness as ARES members increases as we have more things in common. For example, mutual aid teams, that kind of thing, where we're speaking the same language, have the same skill set. On that note, would it be helpful to have some kind of a consensus? Now, bear with me. I'm not asking for a consensus. I'm asking for your opinion about a consensus. If we get a new manager in, is that manager going to deal with 71 different needs, different opinions? Or do we need to start talking about where we want ARES Connect to go? Do we want to use ARES Connect in the future? Do we want it developed? Or are we happy with the way it is? Should we have a conversation sometime about maybe having a bigger voice and affecting that by having some kind of a consensus? Consensus isn't easy, and I don't think it's required, but maybe we should think about having more of an agreement about where we would want ARES Connect to go. And if we want it to die, let it die. I don't have a strong opinion either way at this point. What I want is something that works.
Well, my opinion is yes, yes, and yes. Anybody else out there?
Yeah, my career was in IT, and as I listen to Lee's comments there, it's the thing that strikes me is that we have to be careful. ARES Connect is a solution. It's a tool. It doesn't do everything, right? It does some things and it doesn't do some other things. And some of the things that it does okay. Some of the things that it doesn't do, it could be improved, right? As with any tool, there's no perfect solution for anything. Otherwise, there'd only be one tool in the entire world. But I think what we'll have to do is that, and we should really be doing this on an ongoing basis, is ask ourselves, what are the needs that we have, right? What are the when it comes to information, what are the needs that we have, and what are the gaps in that information handling that we have today? And how do we, that's going to lead us toward being able to select probably not a single solution, but rather a set of solutions that will work together to be able to address that.
Do we expect the league to continue to support it if only maybe 5 sections are using it?
Good question. I think, again, what I think that I like some of the early part of this discussion around where the, and I've heard this before in these calls, I'm paraphrasing, but we are the league. And what I think that we have to do is that we have to be the voice of the league and step up and say, if only 5 sections are using it at the end of the day, here's what they're doing with it and why they're doing it, why there's only 5, because the reason that the other 60 some odd, I won't do the math tonight, my brain's not that fast right now, but however many other sections there are, 60 some odd sections are not using it, is because, and here are the gaps, right, that aren't being filled by it. And some of those gaps are going to be meaningful, back to Jim's point, of things that need to be common threads. Every section in the league should be able to have A, B, and C, right?
But if we don't,
what are those common denominators? And then the rest of those things become secondary layers or secondary requirements, tertiary requirements, things that might not be addressed by a single common set of solutions, but rather add-ons, if you will, that
completely understand. But your argument is an argument to not support ARES Connect, because if it's not a platform, well, let me finish. If it's not a platform that everybody can use, then, or it doesn't have some aspect that we can support, that we can push for, say development of certain reports, or better ease of use, better tracking, whatever. If only one section is asking for that, that is not enough, in my opinion, to continue to support that. I'm not saying we shouldn't support it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if we come at this piecemeal, what are we going to get? We're going to get, in the end, maybe, I've had some sections that say they want this and other sections that say they don't, so we're not going to do anything. Unless we have some kind of a format that we think will work for ARES in itself, for ARES, it's just always going to remain kind of piecemeal, like it is now.
Well, okay, I'm going to interject here a little bit. One thing everybody's talking about something we have no control over right now. One of the things we want is the field to have a voice. And that's what we're working for from the SM standpoint. We want to be able to address these things. I am a retired IT person myself, IT admin. And my feelings is our problem isn't ARES Connect. ARES Connect will stay or go upon the need. We got other things to worry about. If ARES Connect can't meet our needs, then we have something to say, what are you doing with it? Why are we wasting time and money on it? But we got to get these other things up to speed. That's just my point. I have no more say than anybody else. And once we get a new ARES manager on board, we see where we stand. Hopefully, we can have these kind of meetings.
Well, I agree.
Go ahead, Lee.
I agree. To develop our voice, maybe we should discuss these things among ourselves, though, and have some kind of a consensus about about where it should go, which will give us a stronger voice. That's
Yes.
all I'm saying.
No,
Oh, yeah,
you're 100% right.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. I think what happens is that people will look at it, and I'm not an advocate necessarily of ARES Connect. In my career, I saw so many different tools, I just don't get wed to anyone, and so for any reason. But at the end of the day, if I look at, well, what is ARES Connect? It's a poorly named tool. First of all, it's poorly branded because it's not a way of a social form or anything like that, which is what the name would imply. It's a time reporting tool at the end of the day. That's all it is. I mean, you can look for events and you can record your time against them. Bingo. It doesn't, I'm not going to go into all the things that it doesn't do. There's lots of things that it doesn't do. I think to your point, what we need to do, what each section needs to do is it has to come up with its top 10 list, if you will, of what are the top 10 things that are burning, that are really causing me pain in my section, right? And I think when we do that, then we're gonna see the list call out that there's some commonality across those. And the top of that list are the things that need to get passed on and addressed at a league level, so that we can set those aside and we check what they're doing, make sure that whatever they come up with agrees with our, matches our need, solves the problem. Then after that, you look at the next layer down and we say, well, now can the league solve that, or is that something I need to do locally? And is it okay to do it locally? If there's not such commonality of the requirement.
Trust me, once we get the new manager, we got a hint that we got a new manager coming, we'll be striving for those kind of conversations. We have the platform. This thing right here is a new platform, and it's been very successful to work these things out. Our hang up is at the league, and one of the missions we have is to break that barrier down. We made some good headway. I think we fix it more. Once we've got that voice there, then we need to work collectively, all of us, at different levels. And that includes our directors and vice directors, and all of us start working together to make the meaningful changes we need. We haven't had that in the past. We have not had a voice from the field. That's got to change.
Yeah, I would hate to be the new manager coming in and hear 71 voices piping at me. So that's just well, my concern is that it's going to get deafening and it's going to go in every different direction, and we can be more effective, maybe more effective, if we have particular things that we really like to have addressed first, or prioritize that kind of thing. And one thing is that the longer ARES Connect hangs around in its unusable format, the less likely a section is going to adopt it. So
yes. Well, we got a lot of things to address. That's why they got directors. That's what the system, the structure is there. They just don't use it. They got the directors because they got 12 people instead of 71 people to listen to. But you got to have the directors that's going to listen to their section managers, and that isn't happening across the board. So we need to fix, either do away with it or fix. I prefer the fix, get back to what the system is supposed to do, and get rid of these blocks we have going. Okay.
Yeah, the directors, Dan, don't represent the sections. They represent policy. And so we section managers need to represent ourselves.
We do, but our voice to the league is supposed to be through the directors, and a lot of that doesn't happen, and that is the problem.
I don't think the directors see it that way.
Some of them don't. That is true, but that is supposed to be.
Yeah, they're not our bosses. We have different.
No, but they do represent our voice. There's a big difference there. We're supposed to be able to go to our directors with our membership concerns.
They represent all members' voices. So
they represent all members within their division.
Right.
And that is done through the section managers, supposedly.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Dan?
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on Lee's suggestion there. I wonder if it wouldn't be a good test to put together every section manager a top 10 list, and at least try to exchange it with each other.
Well, it's a little early in the game, but yeah, you're right. Next Wednesday, I'm having a section manager only meeting. Been a while, and there's several section managers have indicated they want to have that. So we're going to have that, and there's those kind of sessions where we can iron a lot of this out, and rely upon the section managers to be, and most of them are, in close communications with their SECs and the ARES folks. But we need to get together, iron out these things, and how we're going to address it, how we're going to make it work. And next weekend, we'll discuss some of that on next Wednesday. David, you got your hand up.
Yeah, I've got an interesting scenario in Alaska. I've got a SEC who's on HughesNet, and she's not going to go and support ARES Connect because of the cost of, it's an internet-based thing, and then she's got to learn a whole new scenario to try and log stuff out.
No,
and then I got the Anchorage Club that, you know, the people who are active are real active 20 to 40 hours a week, and they don't want to take any more time to learn new programs. So my section of emergency coordinator says, yeah, the DECs can use ARES Connect if they want, but she isn't going to support it because of her internet situations. So
no, she doesn't have. I'm on Hughes too. All the stuff I do on weekends and sometimes during the week on Zoom and everything else is through Hughes Internet Services. Same one she's got. She's got the basic. If she's got the basic program, I'm sure she does because that's the cheapest one. We all run in that. She has all the bandwidth she needs to do what she wants. She's using it as an excuse. Trust me, she can do that.
In the lower 48, they can use the higher frequencies, and in Alaska, you can't make the higher frequencies work. She's got to go the old 4.5 gigs thing. She can't go up to 9 gigs.
Okay, so she's on the old network. Even then, it's slower, but it does work.
It's too far away. You need too big of a dish. But she's not going to take the time to, you know, of her busy schedule to try and learn something new. So I'm not going to force her to try and learn it.
That's what we have across the board. That's the basic problem across the board there, David. Not only in Alaska, but in every state there is. We've got people in meaningful positions that are not willing to do something new.
Well, and because she's doing a lot of other things, I'm not going to take the time to replace her. And I will support the DECs who wanted to do it, but I'm not going to force people to use ARES Connect.
No. And I have the same thing here. For one thing, your SEC is very active. I get stuff from her all the time. She's involved with Idaho. She's involved with Montana. She's involved with several states, several sections. She's very active, and the people down there seem to work with her very nicely. I think you got a good SEC. But
Anchorage Club is not going to work with her, period, because she pissed a previous section manager off who's active in the Anchorage Club. But other than that, the rest of the states worked with her, and I'm not going to replace her because she is active.
Okay, but I've got a similar thing here in Idaho, and I tell my well, now that I got a decent SEC, I let him take care of it. But the thing is if who wants to participate, fine. But officially, from my section, we're not active with ARES Connect, but we have our own reasons. You guys have your reasons. Everybody's got their reasons. Some of them are the same, many of them are not. It's the bottom line, it's not meeting the needs. I don't see any more hands up, but I do see the time flying by. How are we doing here? Everybody being quiet. You don't want to listen to me sing. Okay, Marty, take it away.
Okay, guys, you're going to have to help me do this now. I haven't shared a screen here before. Okay, let's see if I can do this. Stand by a minute. All right, can you see my screen?
Yep, that's great.
All right. So one of the things that I did to give situational awareness to anyone that was new into the organization, new into leadership, new into ARES, and I give this briefing at the Hamfest at club meetings. I took all of the appointments that were listed at the league, including the ones that we have here that may not be directly appointments, and I built an org chart. It's a kind of an eye chart, depending on how big it is on your screen. But one of the things that I realized when I did this was that there are certain areas that are simply missing or maybe labeled differently. Bring your attention here to the upper right-hand corner. I found that the title of PIC, PIO doesn't fit sometimes squarely in the relationship, the one-on-one relationship when it comes to communicating with your counterpart. Some of those organizations have external affairs programs. Let me go down one more, stand by a second. Let me move down to the next slide here. This one represents the public-facing club for the MDC section. These are all clubs with their club call signs, most of them. And communications with the clubs encourages membership. Membership encourages, as we talk about, communications, but not like radio communications, but communications with others. And then we digest that into the information area of communicating with the communities. So we're communicating with our served agencies, because the served agency in Western Maryland may or may not be the same served agency that's in the Atlantic or beach areas of Maryland. And in some cases, we find that the demarcation between Red Cross in one area is one region and Red Cross in another area, that relationship needs to be specialized. So I understood that, okay, I need to communicate with others, but as I've said, as I put in the window there, in the chat window too, that, you know, ARES Connect is one of those tools. It's a work breakdown structure. It's for accountability and coordination. But I also realized that I needed to have something that gave me a visibility in my served agency's coordination capabilities as well. So I wanted to have an external affairs or a organization that would allow me to reach out to communicate with those groups, so that when I use a tool like ARES Connect, or I use a management tool to make sure that the resources are assigned properly, I need to understand that organization too. Now, if I go back here to the top, down here on the lower right-hand side of this graph, you'll see the SEC, the Assistant Section Emergency Coordinator, and all the DECs, the ADCs, the ECs, and the official emergency stations. So I've been trying over the last couple of years to categorize all of those groups, to put them somewhere on the chart. And then if they can't fit on the chart, to find out, do I have to add something or remove something from the chart to accommodate them? I have groups that are really more engaged in STEM programs, and those STEM programs are equally important. And so I have in the external affairs to be able to communicate with those groups as well. I don't have a tool to do this. Wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if I could have a tool that I could build based on the governance mentioned earlier, Lee mentioned, the governance and policies that we should be applying at a higher level of organization, like the league or the division, and have a tool that would allow me to populate and produce an organizational chart based on the principles at the league, the principles in National Traffic System, principles within ARES, or any of those others, I think that would better visualize. Some may be better in some areas, and I don't have to really manage them very well, or maybe I need to elect someone to manage them very well. It took me over a year to do this, and believe me, this is like maybe a dozen iterations to get there. I haven't seen this anywhere else, but I have others to help me with this, and if we have that capability of visualizing the extent of our organization, you talk about the section manager, to extend that visualization for others, including our members, and for our division director that says, look, this is what my organization looks like. What does your organization look like? I'd like to know. Hey, division director, what's your organization look like? And that communications between my section in Western Pennsylvania or Eastern Pennsylvania or any of the adjacent areas would be reinforced, because they could follow a line right back up to who's the most responsible person I need to get in touch with and how to do that. I don't know if this is helpful, but I found that once I visualized it, it was much easier for me to know where I need to fill the gaps and where I have to make the change. So I wanted to share that with you folks this evening.
Well, I personally thank you. That's good information. A lot of hard work went into that. If you want, I can lower your screen for you. Anybody got any questions before I do? Oscar's got his hand up.
Yeah. By the way, Marty, this is an excellent presentation. Quite a lot of thought about it. I think we should bring it back on next Wednesday. And if you can share it with me, I would like to read it and really digest it, because it's a lot of information within 3 minutes. But it's really interesting what you have done.
Yes, I'd be more than happy, Oscar.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. Oscar still got his hand up. Did you have anything more there, Oscar?
Sorry, no.
Oh, okay, no problem. I didn't lower your hand there. Anybody else? This has been a good session tonight. Good presentation. Thank you, everybody there in Hawaii, and a good conversation afterwards. I don't see any other hands. I don't see anybody jumping up and down, waving or anything. Okay. Nobody has an objection. We can close the meeting at this point. Sometimes there's a meeting goes on after the meeting. I can leave this up if that's what you would like. Anybody got any suggestions on that? Nothing. Quiet.
I'm
Bye, David.
I'm meetinged out for the day.
All righty, that sounds
My
good.
meeting meter is full.
73 to all.
73s. All right.
7-3.
Let her go.
Hey, thanks a lot, Dan, for putting this together. It's good. As you said, it's a great forum for discussion. I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to get together and share ideas and know each other.
It does. It puts a face to not only the voice, but to the text when we see things coming across. It puts a personality to it. What does that person really mean? I think it's a great tool. I'm hoping that with the help of a lot of people, all I did was start the thing. Is that everybody that's involved here makes things happen. I'm just one of you guys. Alrighty, well, I'll close this thing down, and I got an urban tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be controversial, let's put it that way. So let's see what happens. See y'all when I get to see you all. 73s.
7-3.
7 threes.